Gentlemen, it is very clear that ISIL presents a very serious threat to U.S. interests and allies in the Middle East, and the group's actions have left no doubt that it's going to take both brains and brawn to defeat them. We've got to hit them hard. We've got to deny them safe haven, and we have to bring strategic capabilities of the United States and a committed international alliance to bear against them. And we need to work with our partners on the ground to eliminate the conditions that have allowed this cancer to spread so quickly. And the rise of ISIL should serve as a warning to leaders throughout the Middle East, and I would urge, as I think we all have, that the new Iraqi government must take immediate steps to move past the short-sighted and harmful policies that have contributed to the current crisis. This is going to take our best effort. I know we have it in us, and we do need to get it right. So, General Dempsey, in that spirit, let me direct a question to you. In order to defeat this enemy, we will need to be tough and smart. And you noted last month that defeating ISIL will require all application of all tools of national power, diplomatic, economic, information, and military. Could you describe how these tools would be used as part of a well-planned international effort to confront this threat?
First, let me align myself with your assertion that an inclusive government of Iraq that reconciles with the three major groups, Sunni, Shia, and Kurd, is absolutely a necessary precondition to the defeat of ISIL inside of Iraq. And so, to your point, there has to be an integration of diplomatic, economic in the sense of support for the government of Iraq, as well as counter-financing efforts, so that the money that a senator previously described that ISIL is garnering every day can be interdicted, tracked, and disrupted. The flow of foreign fighters. And those are kind of strategic regional issues, really, because ISIL knows no boundaries, knows no borders. So it's not a matter of convenience that we form a coalition, it's a matter of necessity. And then tactically, that's strategically. Tactically, we've got to get enough of the Iraqi security forces and enough of the Peshmerga to go from defense to offense, to put it about as bluntly as we can. And as we do, the government of Iraq has to fill in behind that. So, I mean, to be candid, there's some risk here that the three big risks that I would mention to you are if the government of Iraq fails to become inclusive, and though the signs are promising, they haven't yet fully delivered. Second, if a coalition forms but doesn't have endurance, because this is going to take several years. And then the third risk is retribution. When we encourage and assist the Iraqi security forces and the Pesh to regain lost territory, we have to be alert for the fact that unless the government of Iraq is there to embrace the people and ensure that they work together, there could be some retribution on the part of those who may have been seen as complicit with ISIL. So we've got some challenges ahead, but we're open-eyed to them, and I think we've got a good campaign plan.
Can I follow up on that? You've got significant experience on the ground in Iraq, and I think you know the region as well as anyone. Our military will be able to provide advice and assistance, clearly. But can you explain the reasons why it's important for the Iraqi security forces to take the lead in fighting back against ISIL on the ground?
The author, Tom Friedman, has a famous saying that no one in the history of mankind has ever washed a rental car. And I find that to be a good way to remember that ownership is ultimately what measures commitment. And I think it's clear that they have to own this with our help and with the help of regional partners, but they have to own it.
I talked with Senator Graham last week, and we were discussing the fact that it's, I think, now time for the Arab leaders to really, truly step up. If this isn't an existential threat to them, it's certainly close to one, and I think that's what you're saying and what we're saying as the United States. Mr. Secretary, good to see you. Do you consider ISIL to be an associated force of al-Qaeda, and could you explain your reasoning?
It has been an associated force of al-Qaeda. It has, over time, essentially displaced al-Qaeda, but there are still affiliations to this day. But it has been associated with al-Qaeda.
General Dempsey, let me turn back to you. We've been talking about Syria. It's, I think, one of the most complex military environments we've ever seen. And as you plan the mission to train and equip moderate Syrian opposition forces, how does the DoD define moderate? And how do we take further steps to ensure that the weapons and the training we provide won't fall into the hands of these extremist groups?
Well, Senator, I'd suggest to you that though I recommended doing this a couple of years ago, we've learned a lot in the intervening time. We've learned a lot because of the non-lethal assistance we've provided, because we've had to make contacts with certain groups in order to flow that non-lethal assistance. And we've learned a lot as well from our coalition partners who have been interacting with the Free Syrian Army. We also have learned some lessons in vetting in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. We're very closely partnered with our intelligence agencies. And so I would suggest to you that we've come a long way in our ability to vet. In terms of defining a moderate opposition, I don't think that'll be difficult, actually. The region has become so polarized that those who are radical in their ideologies have made their move, and those that have not have actually demonstrated great courage in not making a move. So I think we'll be able to find the moderate opposition. I hope we can find them in the right numbers. By the way, the 5,400 is capacity. It's just what we can throughput at several training bases in the course of a year. As the Secretary said, it's not the desired end state for a moderate Syrian opposition. One last thing about developing a Syrian opposition. It really needs to be developed with a chain of command responsive to some Syrian political structure, not responsive to us. These can't be simply surrogates and proxies. They have to be tied, linked to some political structure that ultimately could assist in the governing of Syria when finally the Assad regime is either overthrown or through the negotiation is changed. So the important difference in what we're trying to do here is build a force that can, over time, actually contribute to stability in Syria, not just fight.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Senator Udall. Senator Vitter.